My name is Ed Epperson. I was born in 1938, and we moved to a farm in 1950. My dad loved to buy an acre here and an acre there, and I didn't realize that I had sort of inherited that tendency to buy real estate until I was about 25 years old. I came to Austin as a veterinarian stationed at Bergstrom Air Force Base, rented a little house, and moonlighted and treated animals around the city. And after about a year, I decided that I liked Austin and I wanted to stay here. The population was about 220,000, and there were 16 veterinarians in town. So after a couple of years of being in the Air Force, I purchased a little lot on Ben White at Lamar. It was 50 feet wide and 175 feet deep. I paid $15,000 for the lot and $16,334 for the building. And I remember those numbers because they were very, very significant for a young man who had to sell his car and his horse and his saddle and so forth in order to be able to do that. I was a success as a veterinarian, and pretty soon I went from a rent house to a house out in Oak Hill. The house was on about an acre and a half, maybe 2 acres of land, and there were 400 running feet on the highway. So my wife and children lived there for about 5 years, and I sold one of the lots that was 100 feet wide for $50,000, another lot for $50,000, and then I sold the house for $35,500. So I turned $27,700 over 5 years into $135,500. And I heard about some raw land, and I was thinking about building a house on maybe 25 acres, and Austin was wide open at the time. So I went to Thomas Springs Road, and I found a beautiful tree-covered 25 acres, purchased it for $25,000 with money down and monthly payments. And it looked like it was probably going to turn into a mobile home community. Somebody offered me $50,000, so within about 6 months I made $25,000. I took some of that money and I purchased a 55-acre tract on Latta Lane. And Latta Lane is pretty close to where South Mopac is now. And I really wanted to build my home there. And within 4 months, a real estate agent friend of mine called and said that he had a buyer. And the buyer was the guy that was going to build Mopac Boulevard. And he needed rock, and there was rock there, or he thought that there might be rock there. So they offered me $100,000 profit in 4 months to buy me out. So after thinking about it for a little bit, I traded that 55 acres for 4 fourplexes, 2 apartment lots down near Zilker Park, and 15 acres on the waterfront at Inks Lake. So my net worth went from about zero to, within about 6 years, I was up to $500,000. I was unsatisfied in the house that we were living in. The house is now a veterinary clinic, which has nothing to do with me being a veterinarian, but the house was about 2,300 square feet, and we'd filled in the garage for the boys to live in. We had 5 kids and 2 adults, and it was getting pretty crowded, so we started looking for a house somewhere else and moved into Travis Country. And the advantage of Travis Country is they had swimming pools and tennis courts and a lot of room for the kids to play in a real safe place, whereas out at Oak Hill there was just a major highway. And so life was really good there for about 5 years. But I was always antsy to get into a really nice home and a really nice sort of country club environment. And I had been out to Lakeway a lot and was kind of having some fancy thoughts about $1 million home. I looked around, and over in Westlake Hills, right next to Westlake High School, there was 8 acres for sale for $50,000. I paid cash for it without checking it out to see what the septic tank and water availability would be. It was just gorgeous, and I loved it, and I was rich and smart, and I purchased it. And everything that could go wrong did. We ran into problems with the city, septic tank problems. We had to run a sewer line in there and get water taps, and it was really complicated. It took 5 years to be able to develop this 8 acres so that I could lose a lot of money. After investing about $20,000 in each of 6 different lots, it looked like I was going to go down the tubes, and the busing law was passed so that a lot of people in Austin who had money wanted to get out of the Austin Independent School District and move out to the Eanes Independent School District. So I ended up making a profit on that subdivision. In 2001, I had gained an enormous amount of real estate experience. I started out with raw land, and then I ended up with a lot of knowledge about subdivisions. In December 2001, while eating in a restaurant, Mary and I spotted Will Richardson, who we hadn't seen in a couple of years. He joined us and said that he was having money problems associated with an 800-acre tract in San Antonio. He told us that he had secured a TIF that would provide $140 million if properly managed and organized. As this film exhibits, I had a history of real estate entrepreneurship. Will was a person that I had known for over a decade and trusted in business. In a few days, we 3 went to Mission Del Lago. The first thing we saw was an active golf course, and immediately remembered watching Lakeway take off in 1969. The area surrounding the project was horrific: junkyards, abandoned commercial shacks, cheap unkept houses on the north and east, cattle on the south, and a lake on the west. There was a little asphalt with curbs, but not more than a quarter of a mile. Heavy equipment was idle, so it was obvious that without money this project was done. I had sold my veterinary practice in 1995, and the buyer paid me $140,000 in December 2001. Mary and I agreed to loan $100,000 to Mission Del Lago for 12 months. We insisted on collateral and agreed to accept 3 acres on the northeast corner of the main entrance. Mary was paid $500 a month. I ended up losing my $6,000 in interest. January 2003 came, and Will Richardson said that Mission Del Lago was unable to pay the $106,000 debt to us. We took a deed to the 3 acres in lieu of foreclosure. I thought about the 3 acres for a year and wasn't really disappointed because I like owning raw land. I even bought 2 more acres in January 2003 because it felt like a good investment. So after I purchased 5 acres in this area, Toyota began and has become one of the leading automobile makers in our country. I haven't gone to San Antonio very often to check on the progress of Mission Del Lago, but I did count 200 houses there about 6 months ago, so I think there's about 300 houses there now. And there's a brand new elementary school, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people living in apartments there. I live in Austin. I don't hang out in San Antonio, but I'm willing to have the real estate that I purchased escalate as it will, and what I'd like to do is to sell it to a user. I got involved in Mission Del Lago for similar reasons to the original owners, Jim Maddox, Virginia Rogers, and Will Richardson. And I might point out that several investment groups had failed at developing the same 800 acres. It's all about timing and politics.